thanks for coming. This is our first AHA of 2026. We took a brief pause in the summer to set up what you see, but impressively and excitedly, people asked us to, when is it coming back? Are you going to do it still? And we miss it. So that was really awesome. If you're somebody who reached out and said that to us, it meant a lot. We appreciate you. We thought that we would do, for 2026, we took a look back at some of our most popular AHAs of 2025. And we were like, you know, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Who would be great to have as a rerun and somebody who's done a lot in their year, so we could have their fresh perspective. And Dan was literally one of the first people that came to mind. He was also our very first AHA speaker, which is cool. So we're coming full circle.
Bringing it back.
And how that happened is I was standing in Do Collective looking for a place to have AHA. And Dan walked in on other business to talk to the owner of Do Collective. And she said, oh, Dan, to me, do you have a speaker? And I said, no. And she was like, great, Dan, you're going to speak at their first event.
Wrong place, Dan. Wrong place.
You can't say no to Jen, so
yeah.
It worked out all right.
Yeah, and it was the beginning of what turned out to be one of my favorite friendships and a really great series of AHA events. So we're happy to have you back, and you've been really busy this year. Definitely had some great, exciting updates, and the general purpose of this type of meeting is to make sure that as entrepreneurs, we're all feeling supported and we're learning and hearing about other local entrepreneurs, their journey in business, and just connecting in that way. So it's a realtor event, but it's really putting on our entrepreneur business owner hats and just learning through others. And hopefully you guys all become friends with Dan too. And you can go to Stash Box and get a smash burger.
Yeah. Yes, nice plug. Yeah, so pretty much everything that Dan said is true. So thank you guys for all coming today. I was trying to think back to almost 2 years ago when I did the first one and what I said, but I didn't remember. So because I was like, oh, I'll try and say some new stuff because a lot has happened since then. And I think the next guest after me was the mayor. So you guys really outshined me on that one. They're like, we'll get Dan, and then the next guest will be the mayor. So I don't know who next month is going to be after this, but probably like Steven Tyler or something. So definitely sign up for that one. But just a little bit about me. I know a fair amount of you guys who we've met before. But I currently am co-owner of Industry East on Hanover Street, which is a little cocktail bar, Stash Box on Elm Street, which is like a little more restaurant setting. And then in June of 2025, we acquired the Moka Pot, the coffee shop on the corner of Hanover and Elm, and then subsequently it was City Hall Pub that was behind it. We closed the pub immediately because our vision was to move the coffee shop to where the pub was. They had a lot more room. We wanted to put a little stage in there. So we did do that, and it's open now, and you can go check it out. It's got like a 90s vibe to it because there was no real coffee shops that you could just chill and hang and bring your laptop and sit on couches, and now there is. And so the front part where the Moka Pot was located, we are now turning into, it's going to be New Hampshire's first dry bar. So cocktail bar, still going out and get your fancy drinks, but no alcohol whatsoever. So if you know anyone that's in that realm, let them know. We'll be open by St. Patrick's Day, purely for the irony. So figured that'd be a good week to open. So that's been my current stuff I've been doing for about the last 5 or 6 years, but I've been in small business and self-employed for probably going on almost 20 years now. And so what I tried to do, I remember at the last one, was kind of relate, hospitality and restaurants to kind of the real estate world. So this time I was thinking, especially in the last year and a half, because I took on a lot of projects. I also had a daughter. She's 1.5 years right now. So that's a job in itself. I'm sure many of you know that. So the thing I kind of wanted to focus on this time is business credit. And I mean that not like with your Amex card or with the bank, but business credit as in like networking, leaning on people, doing things for people or accepting things that people want to do for you. And I feel like that kind of builds your business credit, which is, especially in Manchester. I've worked in tons of other cities, and I find this area, greater Manchester, so like Merrimack, kind of like all around here. But I'm centered in Manchester, and there's this sense of community, whether it be restaurants or flower shops or bakeries or cafes or realtors or developers. Everyone's got this kind of, everyone that wants to be involved has this kind of sense of community where it's like the business credit that I call it is, like, hey, you should meet so-and-so. They, you were talking about this particular thing. I don't know too much about it, but they're an expert in it. Let me link you guys up. That's business credit to me. And so that happens a lot around here. Specifically with Dan and Drew, they're out and about. They're always thinking of, I talked to this guy and he kind of does this thing. I think it will really help you out. Or you, as the individual, if you're thinking about it, if you're on showing a house or whatever it might be, something might pop into your head. The minute that you're like, oh, I think maybe Steve could use this information or this person can help that person, what I do is I put it in my notes app because I know I'm going to forget it, especially if I'm already talking to someone about something else, right? So I'll pop it in or I'll text it to myself and I'll just mention it to them and they'll go, oh, great, thanks. And sometimes nothing may come of it, but sometimes it could. And then a new relationship could start. And that's kind of like just how it goes. It's almost like an atom, right? It just keeps going around and around. And that is the thing specifically for me in the last year and a half where I've found, because I kind of took on a lot. There's some things you can't say no to, right? So with the Moka Pot project, like it was just kind of timing and the price was right and we were looking to do it anyway. But I didn't really have the time to do it, but we found time. But on the shoulders of people that were willing to help and got excited about it too, right? So, lawyers helping with the paperwork, people helping us demo the site, like just everyone just kind of chiming in because they also want to see the finished product, right? And they want to be able to tell their friends and bring people there and say, hey, I know about this spot. I helped with it. I know these guys, they're working real hard, and the finished product. So I think that kind of can relate to the whole real estate situation, right? Because you start with, finding buyers, then getting the lenders and doing all of the things. So everybody kind of has to work together somehow, right? And maybe this particular person isn't working out with your client. And you're like, we got to get him away from this guy. Alex LaChance, I'm talking about you. He's not here today. But, he's the best. But just sometimes people don't mesh well, right? But you're like, I want this transaction to go through. I want these people to be happy in their house. I want them to get a good rate on their mortgage, all of these things. So the more business credit that you have, right, you can say, you know what, I haven't talked to Cheryl in a while, but let me call her up. I think this is like her, kind of expertise. And just keeping that, just kind of watering those seeds, every now and then, just be like, I haven't talked to Sean in a while. Let me just shoot him a text. Like, hey man, how's it going? Hope everything's cool. Just to kind of keep it going. And it takes like 2 seconds. I know, and I don't always take my own advice. Sometimes I get home and I'm like, I get home from like a 14-hour day and I'm like, wow, I didn't talk to anyone at all today that I was gonna do it. But keeping the mental note of trying to keep it moving is cool. And I think constantly introducing people and, like I said, nothing may come of it, or it could be the start of a whole new partnership, So that was kind of the thing I learned in the last year and a half, that sort of, I guess, took for granted before, or it wasn't like in the front of my, it wasn't like in the forefront because I was just hustling nonstop, like going, which is important. You do have to do that, but you do also have to kind of chill out and let your, kind of let the paths go where they will. And so that just kind of leads to the kind of sort of the last thing I was going to say, which is that if anyone that works for themselves has to hustle, right? Like you have to. And there's always people like, you got to take a break, you got to chill out. And you're like, well, no, you can take a break and you can chill out. But if I don't work, I don't make any money, right? But again, not always taking my own advice. There is a way to find time to somehow still work but chill. And I've been trying to hone that in for like the last year too. So actually, like stuff like this, things like this, right? Like you're not technically working right now, but kind of you are, because that's part of your job, especially when you are self-employed or in a small business. Like anything that you are doing that involves networking, sharing ideas, sharing resources, that is still work. But you can have donuts, and there are some Coors Lights in there still, so depending on what time we get done. But it's super important. So I've personally been trying to find that balance where I can, hang, have some downtime, but at the same time still be discussing ideas, because that's what I like to do. Like, so that's not really work for me. That's just what I would be doing anyway, writing stuff down on a napkin at the bar. Like, I gotta remember this. So that's also super important. I think also the last time I did this, my beard was way darker. So that probably lends itself to a little bit of me not taking my own advice. But I think just consciously making that time, and just, even if it's like an hour in the day, you can probably come here. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you could probably come here and like just zone out on your laptop and be like, I just need to like not talk to anyone. I need to not network for like a little bit. Let me just come here and like read a book or chill out. But those things I've found since the last, talk that I gave have been ultimately important, because there are days where and I know we all have them, where you're like, I'm gonna lose my mind, or I got all these things done, but I totally forgot to do the two most important things. But clearing your brain out and giving yourself, even if it's just an hour a day of like a little bit of rest, tends to help. And the Notes app. I used to just text myself, and I'd be like, I'll read that text to myself later. I got the Notes app, and I'm telling you, you guys have already probably been using it for years. It like changed my life. I was like, oh my God, I'm so smart. Wow, I remembered this one thing. So yeah, organization, taking a little bit of chill time, and like I said, the business credit thing has just been super helpful for me. And I think other people that I may have, over the course of time, where I'm like, yeah, no, I'll totally get back to you. And then I don't, because that's definitely one of my character flaws, because I just forget and then I have to do a million other things. But it helps me remember to do that too. So I'm constantly staying in communication, and if I need something, I'm also very bad at asking people for help. But if they offer it, I'll be like, yeah, absolutely, come over, So I've been trying to work on that as well. But again, the more people you talk to, even if it's for 5 minutes, it just kind of builds that up, and super helpful, especially in the real estate world, because you can always think of someone that needs something, or someone that you can help with, right? And then they'll remember that you helped them with that, and it just kind of keeps you going. It's like, no one's gonna fire you if you're your own boss, right? But you could be like, you didn't do good today, So that's kind of what I've learned since my last talk that I gave. But I think everything I said last time was also pretty relevant. So this is just the new stuff. So yeah, thank you guys for listening to me chat. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for Dan and Drew for having us here. If you guys have any questions for me at all, you can fire it out there. If not, there's plenty of donuts.